to welcome you to episode 511 of the Unpopular Podcast. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Hunter, here with the Unpopular Podcast, and I only ask you to agree with me, I'm asking you to hear me out. You don't just accidentally win an NBA championship. An NBA championship doesn't just fall on your lap. It takes dedication. It takes an entire team to be uber talented, uber focused. And it takes discipline and sacrifice that essentially a lot of people aren't able to make. When we watch this Oklahoma City Thunder team, there's a reason why. You know what's funny? If you look at the coverage from this Oklahoma City Thunder team all season, both regular season and postseason, you'd get so many different angles. You'd get so many different viewpoints of this team. And obviously, everyone has their own opinions. But the fact that there are so many opinions on this team, and some terrible, some great, shows you that, to be completely honest, outside of now champion, this team is unquantifiable. You see, you heard that they're too young to compete. And I understand that. In the history of the NBA, young teams don't usually win in the playoffs. The playoffs are built for experience, and they're built for older teams, older players, because they know the dedication, they know the sacrifice, they know what they have to do. Their blood doesn't get high in high-pressure situations. So when you see in the history of it, young teams usually don't win in the championship. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's a foul merchant. There's a clip going around right now of the guy. I think he's at Barstool. He's just saying he absolutely hates Shai Alexander's game. Well, in the same breath, Shai Alexander became the fourth player all time to win the scoring title, to win the MVP, and to win an NBA Finals, joining Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Michael Jordan did it 4 times, and Shaquille O'Neal. Kobe Bryant didn't do it. LeBron James didn't do it. Steph Curry didn't do it. Giannis didn't do it. Nikola Jokic didn't do it. Those are the only 4 players: Kareem, Shai, Michael Jordan, and Shaq. So you can hate Shai's game, but it obviously breeds winning. Before I go any further, let me congratulate the Oklahoma City Thunder for winning this year's NBA Finals, bringing the first championship to the franchise. They were dominant all year. There wasn't a point in time. Yeah, they had ebbs and flows in the sense of they may not have looked as dominant in some areas than others, but overall, this team was dominant all year. And while, yes, there were different opinions about this team circling around all year, but one thing that was remotely true, and one thing that you could not negate, is they were great. The fact that I don't think they lost back-to-back games all year. we watched an all-time team. I think they became the third team all-time to win 84 or more games when you include the regular season and playoffs, joining the Bulls and Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. Sometimes it's hard to accept. Sometimes it's hard to wrap your head around what you're seeing. Maybe because you don't want to admit it, but it's true. We watched an all-time team. We watched a team that you have to put in the record books. When I see people describe this team and describe this championship, I think Colin Cowherd did like a ranking of the last 7, and he had this team, I think, 6 out of 7. And I can't, for the life of me, understand how you can come up with that conclusion and still watch this team. They have all the components of an all-time great team. They had an all-time great defense, all-time great offense. They have an all-time great player, at least a season. Again, man, it is you can lie to yourself and say that this team wasn't that good. You can lie to yourself and say that what we all watched all year wasn't what we saw. You can try to downgrade their championship. But the proof's in the pudding. When you rank this team, when you look at this team against history, their names are up there. I wanna, because I did a video, a reel about it. I want to broach and I want to talk about the dynasty talk. In the video, I said I understand how we want to throw dynasties on people. And a lot of reasons why we want to do that is because, contrary to popular belief, us as fans like dominance. I know they can say that, oh, we like parity. We like, parity. We like the fact that you can go into a season and not really know who's going to win. But ratings show that dominance sells. Ratings shows that people love to see dominance, whether you like to see it crumble or you like to see it rise to the occasion. People watch dominance. People watch Alabama or football. People watch, the Yankees, the Lakers, the Celtics. People watch that because they want to see dominance. And I said that we should chill out and slow down on the dynasty talk because, again, there's been so many instances throughout these last 7 winners, because, again, this is the 7th different consecutive NBA champion. And we're so quick to throw dynasty on them. And as we'll talk about in a second, we are injury away. A team is an injury away from being damn near a dynasty to almost having to rebuild. But I do understand the intrigue of wanting to call this Oklahoma City Thunder team a dynasty. Again, or I'm not going to say call them a dynasty, but they have the components to be the next dynasty. First and foremost, the age. I think this is the second youngest team of all time to win a championship. I think the average age of this team is 24 years old. And honestly, that 24-year-old. I think that age gets brought up because Alex Caruso is like 30. This is a young team, which, again, goes back to, people saying that they don't have a shot because they look at history, and history shows that young people don't, or young teams don't win in the playoffs. Well, this is the exception, obviously. So youth is on their side. Contracts are on their side. You see, if you play it smart, and obviously it's going to have to, as much as a team, like the organization, wants a dynasty, the players are going to have to want a dynasty as well. This only works if the players buy in. And what I mean by that is that second apron, as we're going to talk about a little bit later when we talk about Boston Celtics, that second apron is a monster. And as much as the league can say that they want dynasties, they want teams to constantly win, that's not true. The league is extremely happy that we've had 7 different consecutive NBA champions because I think the Golden State Warriors and how they did things with Kevin Durant did a nasty taste in the league's mouth. I'm not saying they did anything wrong, but what they did was they saw a loophole. They saw a loophole in the system. And they also pounced on the right time with the TV deals and the expansion of the salary cap. They chose the absolute right time to pounce on Kevin Durant and to essentially build the Golden State dynasty that we saw. Nobody really talks about the fact that a lot of things had to go right beforehand, but that Kevin Durant move really put a sour taste, I think, in the league's mouth. So they were like, we need to find a way to penalize these teams for hoarding all these great players. So that second apron is a beast. And honestly, if you're in the second apron, you essentially, I'm not gonna say have no shot, but you're extremely strapped when it comes to making moves and when it comes to growing your team. But the Oklahoma City Thunder have an opportunity to, I'm not saying bypass the second apron, but push it back. If you sign Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to a contract extension this year, if you sign Chet Holmgren to a contract extension this year, and you sign Jalen Williams, essentially your 3 most important players, to a contract extension this year, that means you're not going to really have to worry about the second apron until probably 3 to 4 years from now, which gives you a 3 to 4 year window to win it all again and again. You see, in that video that I did, I said that give it 2. Seeing as though we haven't seen someone win back-to-back championships since, the Golden State Warriors, let's make it 2 before we really start talking about this dynasty talk. But again, I'm not blind. I see that this Oklahoma City Thunder, 9 of their top scorers are coming back next year, including Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who just won. And if I know that Michael Jordan, Shaq, and Kareem didn't have the Western Conference Finals MVP, but if you want to throw that in there, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has 4 trophies this year, just this year. Scoring title, MVP, Western Conference Finals MVP, actually 5, NBA Finals and NBA Finals MVP. He won 5 trophies in 1 year. If you're saying that you would be lying to yourself if you said that this isn't an all-time season from a player. This is one of the greatest seasons we've ever had. I know that people don't want to give accolades to this iteration of the NBA because it's so different from the past. But we're watching it. We're watching evolution. We watched one of the greatest seasons of all time. Not just from a player, but from a team. But again, 9 players are coming back next year. 9 of their top scorers, I apologize, is coming back next year. On top of that, when you look at the landscape of the league, as currently constructed, because of injuries, unfortunately, and again, we'll talk about that in a second, because of injuries, I think that they are by far the best team going into next season. If we were doing a too early ranking, they would by far be number 1. I don't want to disrespect the moment, which is why I'm saying, I know I just mapped it out, but I'm saying let's chill out on the dynasty talk. Because, again, we thought the Denver Nuggets were going to be dynasty. We thought the Boston Celtics were going to be a dynasty. Let's chill out on that. But I am respecting the fact that we just watched an all-time great team complete the mission and win the NBA championship. We just watched an all-time season from a singular player in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And I think the best part about that was he never, even if you watch the parade, and when he was talking, he never made it just about himself. While he was talking, he made the whole team get up and just stand behind him, which is what which is what the Oklahoma City Thunder do damn near every game. After the game, when they're talking to the reporters, essentially the whole team is behind whoever's talking. I am on record in saying that I don't think there will be a face of the league. I think there will be faces of the league. And that honestly speaks to just the greatness of talent that we have. And I know that a lot of people, Americans, maybe some of the decision makers when we talk about viewing, I know that they're extremely rigid when it comes to making the quote-unquote face of the league be American. I get that. But you can't look out and look at someone like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is Canadian, and say that he's not one of the faces of the league. He's not one of the best players in the league, because you would be lying to yourself. You can't have an all-time great season like this and then just be like, we're going to look at no. Congratulations to the Oklahoma City Thunder for winning the NBA Finals. The best team in the NBA won the NBA Finals. I know that sounds like a duh moment, but that's not necessarily always true. Sometimes the healthiest team at the end is usually the one that wins it, and that's not necessarily always the best team. This year, I think the best team in basketball won the NBA Finals, and congratulations to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Congratulations, Shai Gilgeous, for having a all-time. You know what's crazy? With this season alone, if Shai Gilgeous retired, he'd be a Hall of Famer. With this season alone, because 5 trophies in 1 year. Again, the best team won. Congratulations to the NBA Finals MVP. And congratulations to the Oklahoma City Thunder for winning this year's NBA championship. I wanted to make sure I said that the best team won the championship, because with what happened with Tyrese Haliburton, it opens up a floodgate of opinions. It opens up a floodgate of what ifs. Now, I'm sure if you watched ESPN or any sports network that has talked about this over the past few days, you have seen Tyrese Haliburton tear his Achilles 100 million times. They just continue to show it. I didn't want to, for people that are watching on YouTube, I didn't want to put it on the back. I didn't want that to be the last, or that image over my shoulder when I'm talking. But for people that didn't watch, in Game 7, because, again, the NBA Finals did go to Game 7, Tyrese Haliburton tore his Achilles. I'm sorry. Tore his Achilles in, like, the 7-minute mark in Game 1. And he was hooping, too. The man, like, he had 9 points. He had, like, 3 threes. He was going crazy. And it felt like he and this Pacers team could do the unthinkable. Go into Oklahoma City Thunder in Game 7 and walk out with the NBA title. That's what it felt like when when Tyrese Haliburton was going crazy. But then, obviously, tears his Achilles. And I will say, I felt like damn near everyone felt. It felt like the wind just got taken out of my body. It felt like it got taken out the arena. Hell, you saw it in both teams. That's why the first half just didn't look. Because sports is a fraternity. And as much as you can root for the Oklahoma City, as much as you can root for the Pacers, as much as you can root for any team, you never want to see a player, no matter how great, you never want to see a player go out like that, crying on the floor. And he knew instantly what it was, and I think he also knew instantly that it was over. And that's no offense to the Pacers, but Tyrese Haliburton knows how important he is to this team. He's the best player. Tyrese Haliburton, especially when you look at the run he's had this playoffs, he knew that the only way they were going to conquer the giant that was Oklahoma City Thunder, it was going to be on his shoulders. I think the stat is, in all Game 7s, right, I think 85% or maybe even 90% of Game 7s was won by the home team. In fact, I think the last 2 times it didn't happen was when Golden State lost in 2016, and I don't remember the other time. So Tyrese Haliburton understood that the mountainous hill that they had to climb, they were almost there. And it felt like he was about to have one of them games. So it was crushing, man. This was one of those moments, man, because this was one of those injuries that it was. I think everyone that was watching felt it. Like, ooh. And I think everyone that was watching knew. And what's also crushing is, you know now that he will be gone for all of next season. Again, man, it goes back, and I usually talk about this when it comes to decision making, but it also is true when it comes to injuries and stuff, man. This championship window, nothing is guaranteed in sports. And as great as you're in the NBA Finals, that doesn't mean that you'll be back. And I think all that culminated through Tyrese Haliburton's head. Not saying that they can't, but it's a long shot, in my opinion, for the Pacers to get back. It was a long shot for them to make it this year, and the fact that, like, it was tough. I do wish for a speedy recovery. I mean, it has been essentially confirmed that he is towards Achilles, so he's essentially done for. And you tore in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. You're essentially done for this. We're not going to see you probably until 2027. And I know that now that this is, and I don't want to hamper anything, but I know that this is now bringing on did the right team win? Yeah, the better team won. That doesn't negate from the fact that the Pacers could have won with Tyrese Haliburton, but I do think the better team won. But I don't want to take away from the incredible season that Tyrese Haliburton had, that the Pacers had. Because again, I mean, if you listen, I had absolutely no faith in them in damn near every series. Which also speaks to the essential heartbreak that you have when you think of this situation, when you think of this, because it's like Tyrese Haliburton was having an all-time run in the playoffs. All-time run. And I know that these are, when you talk about Oklahoma City and Indiana, these are two small market teams, but it kind of, to a certain extent, it kind of felt like a David versus Goliath type situation. You have the team that had a historic year, had the MVP, scoring champ, was at home going against a team that wasn't favored in any, and I mean any, series that they were in. And again, I do think the better team won, but it is always going to be a what if. It is going, because Tyrese Haliburton looked great until the incident, the moment. And again, you also can tell how important he is to his team, because the team, while I know they went into half with a lead, it's just they looked like a team that didn't have a leader, who was Tyrese Haliburton, especially that second half, turnover after turnover after bad shot after bad shot. It was just, no pun intended, but the person that's supposed to control the pace on the Pacers was not there. Again, I hope and I pray for a speedy recovery. I pray mentally more than anything that he's able to recover and he's able to understand that this isn't the ending of his run. I don't know if they'll be back, but I do know that they deserve to be there. And it was just crushing. It was crushing. I speak for pretty much all sports fans that it was crushing watching that. I think you can hear a uniform, oh no, when it happened. No matter where you are, if you have a heart, you felt for that moment, because you knew it. Which opens up, and let's broaden this conversation. Because not just with Tyrese Haliburton, but we've had 8 torn Achilles just this year. And 3 of them happened in the playoffs when we talk about Damian Lillard, when we talk about Tyrese Haliburton and we talk about Jason Tatum. 8 Achilles tears this year. And no offense to the other 5, but 3 of them are from happen to the best player on the team or the second best player on the team when we talk about Damian Lillard. And again, I'm not disrespecting, I'm not minimizing anybody. All 8 people that had a torn Achilles. I'm not minimizing any of them. It would be 9 if you want to include Thanasis, but he didn't play this year because of the torn Achilles. And people are questioning and asking, how did we get here? How is it that 8 people in one season has the same injury? And now you're saying the season needs to be shortened. The playoffs need to be shortened. The duration of the games need to be shortened. And I get it. There has to be a reason. And two reasons. I think there's 2 reasons why. And to be completely honest, I don't think those reasons have to do with the length of the season or the amount of games that they play. 2 reasons. One of which my eyes were pretty much open. Shout out to the Gilbert Arenas podcast. The crew kind of broke it down one way. And the second way you kind of knew. Let me do the more known way. Every single player, you can look it up. Every single player that tore their ACL this year, every single player that tore their ACL this season was playing on a strained calf. Every single one. Even if it wasn't diagnosed at the moment. You go back, Jason Tatum was confirmed to have a strained calf. Tyrese Haliburton, as we know, was confirmed to have a strained calf. Damian Lillard, he missed time because of a strained calf, but he was still playing on a strained calf because, again, when he came back, the Pacers were already up in the series. Every single Achilles tear came off the backs of a strained calf. Let me also say that I understand completely why someone like Tyrese Haliburton would play on a strained calf. I get it. This is game 7. Hell, Tyrese Haliburton even said it. If you ask me to what I sit out, the answer is no. I would do everything again. You have to understand, especially when you play in a team sport and you're dependent on by the team, you spend more time with these players than you do your own family. It is extremely hard to essentially take yourself out of a situation where it probably would be better for you if you didn't play, but it's hurting the team. That's why I knew it. I knew Tua. I knew Tua wasn't going to retire. How are you going to tell somebody that feels perfectly fine at the moment, yeah, you probably shouldn't be playing football anymore because it is a danger to your well-being moving forward, even though you feel really good right now, even though it's probably the smartest thing for you to do, medically retire right now. I knew that wasn't, because There's no way that you're going to take a competitor. There's no way that you're going to take someone from a team sport and essentially take them off the field when they feel perfectly fine. Even though I know the concussions, but still. Moving forward, I think that we need to essentially put some respect on a strained calf. We need to put some respect on the severity of a calf strain. The severity of that injury. I know it sounds weak. As a person that's played basketball, I never played NBA, I played college. As a person that played basketball, I know how it would feel if my teammate came to me in one of the biggest moments of our season and say, I can't play because of a calf strain. A calf strain? What? And I understand how it sounds as the person saying it. A calf strain? Bro, if you don't put some ice on and let's go, that's and I know it sounds crazy, but that's what happens. But I promise you, if you change the verbiage from a calf strain to an Achilles strain, which is essentially the same thing, it's like, ooh, hold on. There's a couple trigger words in sports, especially basketball, that will stop you in your tracks instantly. Achilles, ACL, MCL, and blood clots. Those were like, hold on. All right. In that case, you might need to go sit down, bro. We'll figure it out. There isn't a coincidence that all 8 instances that we're talking about, all 8 people that tore their Achilles this year was playing on a calf strain. And you can say, well, Jay, yeah, he was playing on a calf strain, but that's not the leg. That's not the Achilles that tore. Yeah, I know. But when one side hurts, you're overcompensating with the other side. So you're doing things on that side that you're not used to doing because you can't do it on the side that's strained, the side that hurts. I know it's 2 different things, but that's why I understand completely. As a person that went through it, I understand completely how someone like Steph Curry couldn't play through a hamstring injury. I was hella shocked when I saw that Aaron Gordon was playing through it, because when I had a grade 1 hamstring strain, I couldn't walk straight for the first week and a half. So I get it. But if you would have played, it could have bloomed as something bigger. It's time to take, just like the NFL didn't know how important concussions were until it was time to take it serious. This is a serious matter, bro. I know it sounds, calf strains don't sound scary, but it is. Because it can lead, as we've seen 8 times just this year. It would be 9 if the Nats' Antetokounmpo played. All of them had calf strains before they tore their Achilles. The second reason is the one that my eyes were open when it comes to, shout out again to the Gilbert Arenas podcast, Gil's Arena. Do you know that essentially off seasons are done? Do you realize the NBA Finals just ended? And I think next on Wednesday, today, the NBA draft is here. one of the most important aspects of the offseason is it gives your body time to rest. If you're going to be playing 81 games, or if you're not 81, if you're going to be playing that many games, then you need to give yourself some rest. And there's no telling if you're making a deep playoff run. When you have off-season workouts, when you have, you have individual trainers. So, hell, you just saw it with Kate. I know that they didn't play in the finals. I get it. I know that their season ended early. But you see that Kevin Durant is already in the gym. LeBron James, who just had an MCL injury, he's in the gym. There's a lot of the off season is not the off season anymore. Because think about it. I think next month Summer League starts. Then after Summer League, training camp. Then after training camp, the season starts late September? If these are going to be the off seasons, if you're going to essentially shrink the off season, which the NBA does and these players do because it's hard to get them off the court. I understand it. It's hard to get someone off the court, especially when they feel like they were so close to their goal that they didn't reach. Again, you have people full-blown training right now, and the season literally ended on Sunday. Or there's people that'll take a week off and then get back to it. Bro, you just played 81 games. 82 games. Why don't you sit down, brother? I don't think the issue is the length of the season. If the off season wasn't what it is, because essentially there's no off season. That's players too. They have open runs. I know that it's not the same intensity as an NBA game, but you're going to open runs. Chino Hill runs, or Chino Hines runs. Shout out to him. These players are not giving them their bodies time to rest. So when you get towards the season, when you get towards the end of the season, you've been essentially playing year-round. That's why you see a lot. That's one of the reasons why you see a lot of injuries in the W, because they're forced to play year-round. If you don't give yourself a break, what do you think is going to happen? I understand that medicine is a thing. I understand, technology is advanced, but the body is still the body. If you don't give it break, it's going to break down. So, for all 8 players, including Tyrese Haliburton, and it was crushing that it happened in Game 7, I pray for a speedy recovery. But I think that especially this year, it should open our eyes. It should open our eyes. It didn't open our eyes, obviously, in 2019 when Kevin Durant did it. Even it was in the finals. Who, might I add, can't rush back from a calf strain. It's time to really take that injury seriously. Because that injury, as we've seen, can lead to a much larger injury in this Achilles tear. And again, I hope for a speedy recovery for Tyrese Haliburton and Jason Tatum, Damian Lillard, everybody that suffered a torn Achilles this year. And I know it's the hardest thing to hear and accept, but give your body the NBA. These players need to give their body some rest, especially if you're going to go hard, which obviously you're going to in the regular season. Speaking of regular season, let's move forward to the biggest news that broke before Game 7, and that was Kevin Durant getting traded to the Houston Rockets. We knew that the trade was imminent. We knew when you looked at the payroll, when you looked at just the steep penalties that the Phoenix Suns were going to have with Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker on the team. The fact that Bradley Beal had a trade clause, so it's going to be damn near impossible to trade him. You knew the writing was on the wall for KD. And I said in the last episode, the episode before that, the 5 destinations that he gave, I said the second best was the Houston Rockets. I thought the first best was Minnesota. And then when you look at the package that Minnesota was going to give them, it looked really good. But Kevin Durant is now a Houston Rocket. And for the life of me, I don't understand, bro. I don't understand. I do kind of understand. It's just, bro, this was the perfect win, the perfect trade for the Houston Rockets. You're talking about a team that was top 10 in defense last year. You're talking about a team that went into the playoffs as the second seed in the West. And you're talking about a team that their biggest issue was scoring the ball, especially in the half court. And you bring in essentially one of, if not the best offensive weapon the league has ever seen in Kevin Durant. Do you understand? There's a stat going around that if you compile Kevin Durant when he was in Golden State, when he was in Oklahoma City, when he was in Brooklyn, and when he was in Phoenix, he's essentially a 50-40-90 guy for his career. And he's essentially a 26 to 27 points per game scorer in his career. If that's not greatness, I don't know what is. But you had to give up Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, this year's 10th overall pick, and 5 second-round picks. Now, I understand, Phoenix didn't have a first-round pick till like 2030. And you can hopefully try to package up some of them 5th-round picks and maybe get but I don't know. And I understand that you get Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks. But the fact that you did not – Houston didn't have to give up Tari Eason. They didn't have to give up Jabari Smith. They didn't have to give up Amen Thompson. They didn't have to give up Alfred Sengun. They didn't have to give up any of their youth. Reed Shepherd. They didn't. How is it that the only youthful player you had to give up was Jalen Green? I think that this makes them an instant title contender. Kevin Durant, essentially, hold up. Because I just heard what I was about to say in my mind. Not on the same level. Okay? I'm not putting these two teams on the same level. But this has a lot of similarities when Kevin Durant went to Golden State. Whoa, I know. This Houston Rockets team didn't just win 73 games. This Houston Rockets team doesn't have Steph, doesn't have Clay, doesn't have Draymond Green, doesn't have Andre Iguodala, I know. But what I'm saying is you're dropping a team, or you're dropping Kevin Durant on a team that has established established youth that has one of the best defensive teams, and you really only gave up Dylan Brooks, who helps with the defense. Like, this is a win-win for Kevin Durant and the Houston Rockets. And essentially, and I understand it. I understand, even though I did see the package that they could have got from from Minnesota. I did see that package. And that package had more players that you can win immediately, but because I think Rudy Gobert was in that. I think maybe Jaden McDaniels. Like, you could have gotten more. And I understand that the most important thing that you got was the 10th overall pick and the 5 second-round picks. Because, again, with the moves that they made to get Kevin Durant, to get Bradley Beal, you had essentially no picks. But the fact that you got a player in Jalen Green, who Jalen Green is good and he's young, but Jalen Green does not fit when you talk about this Phoenix Suns team. You can't play him alongside Devin Booker, and you can't play him alongside Bradley Beal because neither one of them play defense. And on top of that, what, you gonna start Dylan Brooks? Like, what? For the life of me, I don't understand how they didn't get another one of those young players. How you not get someone like Torrey Eason? Like, I don't know. Who was a good player? I'm shocked because you didn't get him. But this is they got an A+, the Houston Rockets, bro. They were able to keep essentially the core that got them to a top 10 defense last year and got them to the second overall pick. Whoa, second overall seed in the West. You got Kevin Durant, man. And I think this makes them, especially when you look at the landscape of the league, this makes them a title contender. I'm not going to go as far as say that a title lock, but a title contender. I do think that they still need like a scoring point guard, because I don't trust Fred VanVleet a little bit. Or they either need a scoring point guard or a scoring shooting guard, because that means that you're trusting that Amen Thompson, who isn't the best offensive player, you might make him the point guard and just be like, we need another scoring punch. But hey, maybe, because I know right now I think the projected lineup is Fred VanVleet, Amen Thompson, Kevin Durant, Jabari Smith, and Alfred Şengün. And you also have Steven Adams coming off the bench. Like, and that's still a young team, man. Phoenix, man. Look, I get it too, man. Like, everyone and their mama in the league knew that Kevin Durant was gone. So it's like, you're not gonna get the best offers for Kevin Durant because they know that you need him gone, and you don't want him back. But like, that's the best you could have done. Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the 10th pick, and 5 second-round picks. This is the best you could have done for Kevin Durant, walking 50, 40, 90 for a career, essentially. And you send him to a team where you could have got, think about that. Who is, outside of Devin Booker, who is the building block for this team? Because we don't know if they're keeping Jalen Green, but is Jalen Green at this point a building block? I know people saying he's still young. Bro, he's been in the league for like 5-6 years now. Like, come on, bro. At some point, age, he's going to have to get it. This is who he is. Like, I don't know, man. Oh, boy. This is yet another situation where Phoenix got fleeced. You give up the prize, and the other team, Houston, gave up a player that they were trying to move. Now think about it. And Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, who, okay, I know that he's like a fiery player or whatever, but okay, the 10th overall pick in a draft that's essentially not strong after pick 5 or 6, and yeah, man, it's crazy, bro. I don't know how to keep getting away with it. But shout out to Kevin Durant. on a much better situation in Houston. I think they're going to be incredible next year. And again, I think that they have a shot to be a championship caliber team. It's and then obviously you have Ime Udoka, who is a defensive minded coach, so you don't got to worry about that. Like, man. Speaking of that, man, yo, how do the Boston Celtics keep getting away with this? Why do teams continue to lose trades with the Boston Celtics? No offense to Anfernee Simons, but do you know how difficult it is to get off of a 35-year-old that is owed essentially $72 million for the next 2 years, who is coming off of an injury, surgery, might I add? Not only do you get off of him, but you're the desperate team in this situation because your best player in Jason Tatum is out for the season with a torn ACL. You're about to get hit upside your head with the aprons because you have two players on your team that's essentially $300 million players, plus Jrue Holiday, who you re-signed, plus Kristaps Porzingis. So that means you're the desperate team. You're the team that needs to get off these players. And somehow you find a way to get off essentially one of, if not your worst contract, and that's no offense to Jrue Holiday. We're going to talk about Jrue Holiday in a second. But you get off essentially one of your worst contracts and get not only one of the best contracts in Anfernee Simon, but you get a scorer, which you're going to need next year, a three-point shooter, which you're going to need next year, and he's one of the best three-point shooters because Jason Tatum's not going to be there, and like you give yourself at least a 1-year running mate with Jaylen Brown. And all it cost you was Jrue Holiday, and you got 2 second-round picks, which you can flip for another player. Which is crazy because Jrue Holiday was traded to Portland for Damian Lillard, who then obviously the buyout got rerouted into Boston, and he also got traded for Anfernee Simons. Now, I will say this. This makes Portland very interesting because Jrue Holiday is still one of the best on-ball defenders in basketball. And Portland, towards the end of the year, was one of the best defensive teams. I think they were like 6th in defense last year, towards the end of the year. So you're putting him on a team that already, Donovan Clingan. This is going to, they're probably not going to be good, but they're going to be scrappy defensively. They're going to be one of the better defensive teams in basketball. I don't know if that's going to amount to much winning, but they're going to be good. And on top of that, if you're Boston, you have Anfernee Simons is only on contract for a year for like $23-24 million. So you essentially save yourself $40+ million. And then on top of that, Kristaps Porzingis probably. Now, I don't know if this – I'm not going to say it closes the championship window, at least for next year, because, Jason Tatum's not going to be there. But overall, you still have Jason Tatum. You still have Jaylen Brown. You're probably going to keep Derek White. Probably when they're all healthy. I expect that championship window to be open again. But, boy. I don't understand. I don't understand how this continues to happen. You know what I mean? You essentially got off a 35-year-old that is coming off an injury, and owed around $72 million for the next 2 years for a 20-something-year-old player that's only on a 1-year contract, and that is a far better offensive player. And again, I'm not trying to disrespect Jrue Holiday because Jrue Holiday is one of them. When it comes to defense, Jrue Holiday he's great. He's probably one of the biggest reasons why Boston won the championship a year ago. But how how do you end up trading Jrue Holiday for Anfernee Simons, who essentially was Portland's best player, and 2 second-round picks? How do you get 2 second-round picks out of that? You got the team's essentially best player and 2 second-round picks for a 35-year-old coming off an injury and owed around $72 million for 2 years. Shout out. That's crazy. That's crazy. Now, again, I don't think that this doesn't make Boston a championship. In fact, I think especially this year, it lowers their championship ceiling. I don't think they're going to be that good. But what it does do is it gives them room for when Jason Tatum comes back to make some moves. Because, again, I think Kristaps Porzingis is going to be out of here, too, so that's another contract. So you're able to bring in pieces when you're fully healthy, you know. Dang, Brad Stevens, you sly dog, you. Shout out to both Jrue Holiday and Anfernee Simons. So, emotions is an interesting thing. And sometimes emotions allow you to not be honest about what we're seeing or what we saw. No matter how you felt about Jon Bones Jones, let me just give you a quick resume. Jon Bones Jones was 28-1. He had 16 wins in the UFC title fights, so he's 16-0 in title defenses. The youngest UFC champion of all time at 23 years old. He had a 20-fight unbeaten streak. He's a 2-time division UFC champ. And he has 22 career wins in the UFC, tied for 5th most all time. When we talk about Mount Rushmores, you would be insane if you didn't put Jon Bones Jones in the UFC Mount Rushmore. I'm saying all this because he officially announced his retirement from the UFC, which kind of goes back to the first point in emotions, because Jon Bones Jones was not without fault. Yeah, he had a couple PED situations. He had a couple off the cage situations. And a lot of people didn't like how it came out of no. Dana White was at the end of a UFC event was like, Jon Jones called us and said that he's retiring. And then I think the next day he put it on Twitter. And a lot of people are saying he was in talks to fight Tom Aspinall, and that obviously, which is crazy because almost every demand that Jon Bones Jones asked for, the UFC gave him because this would be a super fight. But he came back and said he didn't want to do it. And you have people saying like, no, every great fighter has allowed somebody to, you know, knock them off their reign. And if they can do it, great. If not, great. But every great fighter has allowed the next great to do that, and people look at Tom Aspinall as one of them. And again, you can talk about the PED and the failed drug test with Daniel Cormier, and a couple other ones. There's nobody saying that Jon Bones Jones was perfect. In fact, as great as his resume is, I think he was more flawed as a person, as a fighter, than perfect. I think that it would be a complicated tale if you were to be tasked in explaining the career of Jon Bones Jones. However, I do think that he is one of, if not the greatest. You know what? He is the greatest UFC fighter we've ever seen. He is essentially one of, if not the most important fighter the UFC has ever seen. There would be no UFC if it wasn't for Jon Bones Jones. The UFC wouldn't be as popular. They wouldn't be on UFC, 320 or whatever, if it wasn't for Jon Bones Jones. Again, you cannot have a Mount Rushmore, no matter how he made you feel, no matter how, some of the off the field, off the court, off the octagon stuff he did, some of the PED busts he had. The record is the record. 28-1, and I think one of them. Give me a second. One of them was a disqualification in 2009 against Matt Holman. Now I know that the second Daniel Cormier fight, that was July 29th, 2017, was declared a no contest because he failed a drug test. But again, the man had 11 knockouts and 7 submissions and was 28-1. Jon Bones Jones was the greatest UFC fighter we've ever seen. I know how people say Jon Bones Jones, no matter how he made you feel, no matter how much you hated him, no matter how much you loved him, he is the greatest UFC fighter ever. And he just called it quits. Maybe not the most upstanding way. Maybe not the way that people would like to see. Maybe not the traditional way. Maybe not even the most honorable way. But Jon Bones Jones has officially retired from the USC. Jesus loves you. From the UFC. And again, he is the greatest fighter the UFC has ever seen. Ever. So, no matter how you feel about him, congratulations on a incredible career, Jon Bones Jones. I also want to say congratulations to LSU baseball for winning their 8th World Series, bro. There are powerhouses, bro. Oklahoma softball has been a powerhouse. Alabama football, powerhouse. North Carolina basketball, UConn basketball, powerhouse. UConn basketball on the women's side, powerhouse. South Carolina on the women's side, basketball, powerhouse. LSU is a powerhouse when it comes to college baseball. They've won 8 College World Series, 8 of them. And I think they just went back to back. They won last year, I believe, if not the year before. They beat Coastal Carolina, who was riding like a 26, 27 game win streak. And they essentially destroyed Coastal Carolina. It wasn't like yeah. Again, a powerhouse. LSU men's baseball is a powerhouse, winning their 8th College World Series. Congratulations to you guys. Ain't not much else to be said. They are joining the ranks of the UConn men's or women's basketball, UConn men's basketball, South Carolina women's basketball, Alabama football, Oklahoma softball. Congratulations again to the LSU men for winning this year's College World Series and winning the school's 8th. Second in the last 2 years, or second in the last 3 years. They're them. Lastly, before we go, I have the unpopular topic of the day. I didn't talk about this last episode because I forgot. And also, I didn't really have the words to... I didn't know how I wanted to talk about this. I had to hear it a couple times, but LeBron James was talking about ring culture, and he was saying that ring culture and ring chasing has essentially ruined how we cover the league and how we talk about players, and how we should essentially do away with ring chasing and stuff. Again, one of the reasons why I didn't talk about this happened last week. One of the reasons why I didn't talk about this last week is because I didn't essentially know what to say. I think LeBron James, I can't speak for him. I don't know what he meant. I know what he said. I think what he said was wrong. But I'm going to speak on what I think he meant to say. I think that it was wrong because you play to win the game. Shout out to Herm Edwards. You play to win a championship. When you hear Shai Gilgeous-Alexander talk about it, when LeBron James did it, he wouldn't have went to Miami if there wasn't a culture and there wasn't an opportunity to win a championship. He wouldn't have went back to Cleveland if there wasn't an opportunity to win a championship with Kyrie Irving, with Kevin Love. He wouldn't have went to L.A. if there wasn't an opportunity to win a championship. I do agree with people saying now that the fact that it doesn't seem like there's an opportunity and there's a route for LeBron to win a championship, now you have this viewpoint. That's what it sounds like. And I agree. It's like, hold on, bro. You play to win. Everyone's trying to win a championship, or at least everyone should be trying to win a championship. You don't play the game. Obviously, money and lifestyle and everything, that's important, but there's a Larry O'Brien trophy at the end of it for somebody, for a team. And that's what you're trying to win. You think we don't say dynasties because they were really good. Why do you think that people crush Golden State for 2016? Yeah, they won 73 wins, but what didn't they? You know what I'm saying? So for that, I don't agree. But what I think LeBron James was trying to emphasize is the fact of how we view players. And I do agree with the sense of you shouldn't decrease a player's impact. You shouldn't decrease a player's skill just because they didn't reach the ultimate goal. Like we talk about Charles Barkley differently than we talk about Anthony Davis. And I would think Charles Barkley is much better than Anthony Davis, in my opinion. We talk about Allen Iverson much different than we talk about, let's say, Isaiah Thomas from the Pistons, and I think they're much closer. It's like, I don't think that you should essentially lower somebody's legacy just because they didn't win a championship. I do think, however, that it is important to elevate people's legacy if they did win. Like, you think people would talk? Look, anytime we talk about Michael Jordan, what do we always talk about? 6 rings. 6 for 6. Anytime we talk about LeBron James, obviously we talk about scoring, but we also say, bro, he went to 8 straight championships and won 4 of them. When we talk about Steph, what do we talk about? 4 rings. We also talk about the fact that, greatest shooter ever. I think that there should be room to evaluate a player for how good or how good they weren't without talking about the ring. But I do think if they do win a ring, it's important to talk about because that's essentially what you're trying to win. That's essentially what everyone's trying to get to. So, in one hand, yeah, I don't agree with LeBron James because you literally did what you're telling people not to do. You literally ring chased. Now, you're great. I mean, again, you ring chased to Miami, you ring chased back to Cleveland, you ring chased to L.A., and it got you 4 rings. Shout out to them. But to say, like, that's lowering the game, no, it's not. Because, again, that's what you play for. But I do agree. I do think that we may, I guess, judge people a little too harshly if they haven't won. Because Allen Iverson still had a great career. Steve Nash still had a great career. Charles Barkley still had a great career. John Stockton still had a great career. Melo still had a great career. And I don't think that they should be docked just because they didn't win the ultimate prize, something that is incredibly hard to win, which is why, in the same breath, I think that you should elevate people that have won. Maybe not in the grand scheme of things over some people. Like, I wouldn't pick Robert Horry over LeBron James because Robert Horry has 7 of them. But, we have to talk about Robert Horry because he has 7 of them things. So, yeah, LeBron, I don't know, bro. I don't know. I can't rock with you with that one to a certain extent. And there you have it. That's been today's episode of the Unpopular Podcast. I truly, truly, truly appreciate you guys. If you want an Unpopular Podcast shirt, hoodie, sweater, long sleeve joggers, the link is in the description below. I have multiple different colors, multiple different designs. Get your Unpopular Podcast merch today. Also, for my YouTube watchers, listeners, if you get to this point of the episode and you're not subscribed, I don't know what to tell you, bro. Please subscribe. It means so much to me. I'm trying to grow the channel as much as I can, and I cannot do it without you guys. So if you are subscribed, please share. Please tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to subscribe. It means so much to me. I'm trying to grow as much as I can, and I can't do it without you guys. Also, for my DSP listeners, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, same thing with YouTube. If you like the content, if you like hearing my luscious voice, please follow and subscribe. No platform is bigger than the other. No platform is more important than the other. I care about everyone that supports me. And if you are following, if you are subscribed, and you are a regular listener, please send it to somebody that you think would like it and ask them to subscribe if they do like it. So all my DSP listeners, please follow and subscribe. Also, from my socials, Instagram, TikTok, I post pretty much daily. That's where you get reels. That's where you get stories. That's where we can go back and forth. If you keep respectful, I don't mind going back and forth. It just means that not only you're listening to me, but you care about what I'm talking about. Both I truly, truly appreciate. So, again, I don't mind you leaving comments. Just keep it respectful, and we can go back and forth. But please follow the socials, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Please, please, please follow the socials. Links in the description below. Until next time, I hope you guys stay cool out there, because if you're over in the East Coast, oh my gosh, it is ridiculous outside. Until next time, much love.